Since we reacted to a few EVE videos already, I got another recommendation under my last EVE video, which is Where's the Underground? And apparently it's already more than 7 years old and it was animated by Studio Wit. I'm curious to see how this will turn out. Okay, no sound, only a big cloud that already reminds me on Hosoda movies. Okay, that's a cool animation already, like a lot of smears and a lot of all of these little bubbles. Is this actually animated on once? So this is probably one big drawing with several layers. Like as you can see here, we have some kind of parallax effect as well. Like when we compare this layer to the background, we are using this white sky as our mask right now. We see that this is moving on a different speed than these signs in the foreground. So we have a nice parallax effect, even though this is already so fast. Crazy. And this is what I mean all the time, that EVE videos are just extremely high quality. But this is actually looped, right? No way that the foreground is all separate objects that you only see once. Like here we have this sign, is this kind of a lighter or something? White way. So these are all different signs. Holy shit. Is this actually a 3D scene? Because all of these elements look so painted. I would rather think that these are all separated layers and they got moved together in something like After Effects, but this looks just astonishing. What a beginning and what a flex already. Although I'm not the biggest fan of this smoke in the beginning, I think this one doesn't work as well. Nice with the wavering of the cloth in the wind. That's super sick. So much is already happening. I didn't even talk about the dragon thing, like the fish-dragon hybrid, this one. And here's actually a nice little EVE graffiti. There it is. I really like how they are playing with the framing here inside a store probably, and actually this character I know from like one of his older songs, right? Crazy creatures actually. This one kind of reminds me on Vasukian from Made in Abyss Season 2, although Season 2 wasn't released when this video came out. It's actually a convenience store. And why is this big octopus exploding out of that? What's going on here? Where is this one coming from? Wait, it's coming out of this thing here. Oh no, it's coming from outside and gets smashed to this machine. And now it's dying kind of and then exploding. Holy shit. Again, we are playing with some color coding for different characters. Here we have a lot of blue colors and our main protagonist with this bright and saturated yellow hair and emerald green eyes. These shots are always interesting when you are watching into a water puddle and see the reflections of the characters around them. I think these shots are really cool. Okay, now both are kind of getting sucked into the water. Ooh, really nice animation here. Also, really fast cuts here, like these ones. Only like 5 frames. Here we are starting on the top. He drowns more up until this side on the bottom. Now he spins a little bit to the other side completely and then turns around again. And then he's going to appear at the middle at some point. And the same thing goes with her as well, like we kind of get this turbulence. Is he bathing rainbows? Also again on the t-shirt, this sign of this one character with the mask. And is Darling Eve title as well? Or is this kind of a brand within the Eve universe? Okay, this one looks a little bit rough. So of course the drawings are looking super good and I really like this little swing in her arm. So really nice pose, but are these only like 3 drawings? Like this drawing here gets repeated all the time. So there you can see that they kind of looked after their frame count. This whole world actually really reminds me on Bubble. Do you still remember the film Bubble? I think Eve also did the theme song for the movie. Here, this one. It really has the same vibe. The city design also looks pretty similar with this moss everywhere. It was also made by Studio Wit under the direction of Tetsuo Araki. What is this Cyclops person on one of these posters? Actually, they are all Cyclops. That's a cool shot where we have these lights going off, like all after another. Like here everything is really bright and then every little bit of this gets turned off. And also underground. This lizard looks just so funny. Like before we had this really realistic shot of this girl with a realistic lighting, and straight on the other side there's a lizard on this other scene. And of course again the contrast between blue and red colors. It's so funny. I feel like I'm the only one in the world who's standing exactly on the other side with this, on the skateboard. Okay, that's another way that you're just standing on a skateboard and fall over. No, actually, I really think having a skateboard, if you're able to skate, it's the perfect thing to have, because so often you're way faster and it's just like under your arm. Like here I'm using one that is actually made for being pretty fast in the streets. So as you can see, this is not a longboard, it's a cruiser board. You can see it on the shape. But the good thing is, even with a skateboard, you can also slip through everything. So I'm just driving through the cars, turning around the peasants. So now they are getting closer to each other. Like here she's inside while our wet guy is outside. And this is also a pretty interesting shot with the split in the middle without having a dedicated line, but we all know what's going on here. Are these different signs? So is this a real language or is this just gibberish? Again, really cool framing with the tire, and of course, nice transition that we have both elements that these two shots connect with each other. Like here we have the tire and the Ferris wheel in the background, and here on the same spot we have the small circle and the big circle that before was the frame of the tire, and of course the big color contrast. Always think that this is one thing that is really good and really special in Eve videos, that everything is thought out. You don't have scenes that don't match each other, but everything fits to each other. We still have our Ferris wheel, another connection piece. This is straight up ripped from, how's it called? Blood Blockade Battlefront from the opening? Yeah, here kind of what I meant, with all of these people being more monotone color while the main character is completely standing out. But funnily, now she is surrounded by orange people, like people with an orange color. And he, on the other side, is surrounded by people on a dark bluish tone. So again, big contrast. Yeah, it's just flipped now. That's a cool explosion actually. This is a puppet, right? So all of the inner fluff just bursts out, and I don't know why pigeons are coming out of that, but it's cool. But she has a skull. So the orange one is a puppet with fluff inside, and she seems to be a normal human or maybe a robot. It also has a little bit robotic vibes. Oh, completely different art style. More scratchy, but we also have these TV lines, so maybe this is a TV. Ah, okay, now he is smashing everything. But here we have a nice compositing effect with the rainbow-colored lines. And both characters are now smashing the environment. But we kind of get it in a reverse sequence. So we see how it is now, and then we are getting a kind of playback. Oh, that's some Full Metal Alchemist stuff here with some background animation. Or actually here it's kind of a foreground, and again we have this frame here. But this is looking super cool. And this is also animated pretty detailed. Like, look at this is animated on ones. So that's why it looks so fluid and so fast as well. Like from this point already. Like here you can see it already. I just tap once on my keyboard. This is all animated on once. That's crazy. Oh, this looks super cool. This perspective is really nice. Here again we have him in the foreground and she is in the background a little bit, so we have a nice dynamic here. And also with the background as well, that is in these red and bluish colors. Crazy thing. This is some crazy animation. Just look at this. Like this is really... Okay, this is animated on 2s, more or less. Okay, this is on 1s again. Something between 1 and 2s is always... When you mix this up, it's super interesting, but super high quality animation. And I always like these shots where you have different layers with them running in the foreground, and in the background there's this big monster that is destroying the town. And now they're just watching how everything did fall apart. Also, really interesting choice to make the title that big. That's really cool. What's this cube here? This flying cube? Really cool. Do we now get the speed playback of every scene here? It really seems like that we are soon right at the beginning. Bam! And we are back at the cloud. Okay. And actually these colors are completely different, because before we had this really high saturated color palette and all of this is more toned down, almost more realistic, like pastel colors. Underground again. And he's bluffing. Okay, but probably no rainbows. Yeah, crazy work. Crazy work. So at the end, here, this looks more like a realistic world, while all of this is a complete fantasy underground world, kind of. It's always a joy to watch e-videos, even though this one is already pretty old.